What's going on? Happy Tuesday, and when you're watching this video, it's going to be uploaded on a Wednesday. So anyhow, today I want to talk a little bit about what mistakes to avoid when buying a home on the island. And when I say the island, I mean Palm Beach, right? So the three things are making sure the home's structurally sound, making sure there's no assessments or pending assessments, and making sure you're buying on the right street. So, and when I say buying on the right street, I mean there's a lot of different streets. So I would say Clark and Barton are phenomenal streets to be on. Worth Ave obviously is a great spot to be on. But you know, you can go to some other streets, like for example Oleander, where it's a little bit of a unique street. So when buying and holding on for a while, you want to make sure, one, you're on the right street, a desirable street, and secondly, you want to make sure that when it does come time to sell, that you're on a desirable street to where it's easy to sell. Because if you have a property on Oleander, for example, which is happening now, there's a lot of listings on there and not much is moving. Now it's going to be, Oleander's priced a little bit lower just because it's a less desirable street to be on. And when I say less desirable, you have some commercial space, you've got some parking lots you're looking at, and it's a really narrow street. Now, if you like that, that's the street for you. Now, Clark and Barton, those are great streets to be on because they're the streets, and obviously Worth Ave is Worth Ave. So Worth Ave is great to be on. Now, when I was talking about assessments, for example, a lot of the buildings that were done and built back in the day were older buildings, so they have assessments coming up. There's structural integrity assessments being done, milestones, reserves. Did I say the structural integrity? But concrete restoration, roofs, ACs, things like that. So make sure when you are buying a condo on Palm Beach with these older buildings, make sure you do your due diligence. Then there's no assessments coming up because those can be big ticketed items. And then furthermore, structural integrity, that kind of relates a little bit back to assessments within the building, but structural integrity within the older homes. So for example, a lot of the older homes on Worth Ave have crawl spaces. And as a born and raised person in Florida, crawl spaces, we don't really usually have them unless they're very older built homes. Now with crawl spaces, if you get moisture underneath your house, the moisture is going to seep through the floors and cause, mildew, a musty smell, and that's the last thing you want in your house, a musty smell. So make sure that the proper precautions are done to the house. Make sure it's coated with what's the word I'm trying to think of? I'm drawing a blank here, but anyhow, make sure the dehumidifiers within it. If you want, you could fill it in. There's a lot of different options, but sometimes those can be costly and it can really affect the home. A lot of newer homes are being built around the older ones, so they're built on a little bit of a higher stem wall. Make sure to look for that, because the problem is that you can run into is when it comes to the rainy season, the rain, running in from the two brand new houses in between you to now going down into your yard just because it's they're built on stem walls. So another thing to look for, there's some other little things that you can look for, like lead-based paint. If it was built before 1968, now it's not very common, but it's a possibility. And then obviously, if homes are built in the early 1900s, which they are a lot typically in the Palm Beach area, make sure you have a great home inspector to make sure everything's correct, because since 1928, a lot of things have evolved. So anyhow, that's like a quick tip and pros and tricks and things like that to look out for when you're buying a home in Palm Beach or a condo. So if you're curious, call me. We can talk about it more. My number is down below. Subscribe, like the video, comment.